So I'm about to start Deadhouse Gates, Book 2 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. So this will be my second vlog in this series and second vlog ever. First time I ever tried a vlog was Gardens of the Moon. And a lot of you like the format, so I'm going to continue with that. So what I'll be doing is just documenting my thoughts as I make my way through this book. After just about every reading session, I'll just simply turn on the camera, talk about what I'm feeling, what I'm liking, what I'm disliking, what I'm enjoying, what I'm frustrated with. A lot of you like this format for Gardens of the Moon, so I decided I'll do this for the rest of the series as I make my journey through this big, long book series. So going into Deadhouse Gates, I am still excited, although I am a bit nervous. I didn't love Gardens of the Moon. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and if I'm being honest here, I'd say that if it were to go up or down right now, I'd say it's trending downward. There were a lot of points of confusion, and it seems like most of the people that I talk to that love this book are the people that are rereaders. So I think I'm probably in an okay place. It also seems like a lot of people talk about Deadhouse Gates and Memories of Ice being the two books that hooked them into this series. So I'm hoping that that's the same for me, because I'm not hooked yet. I am still excited, though, and the biggest reason I'm excited is that everybody I talk to that's finished this series just raves about it. A lot of them list it as their favorite thing ever, or at least in their top 10 or something like that. So I am still excited for this series. I'm just a little bit nervous. A few things that will go differently in this second time around. I now know that there's a glossary at the back of the book, which I didn't realize in Gardens of the Moon. I also got two great bits of advice from Matt, from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews. He put together a really great video about Malazan and just some advice and what it was about, just a breakdown of the series. Really great video. Go check that one out. But what he did, there's two things that he did. One is he posted this great slideshow that somebody put together and I think posted it on Reddit, and it was over 300 slides, and it was about Gardens of the Moon. And there's one for each subsequent book. So I'm going to use that to kind of guide me along with my reading. One thing I like about it is it does have maps, and it has kind of a little bit more detail to the maps. As I get older and reading fantasy, when I was a younger fantasy reader, I loved flipping back and forth to see the maps. I don't like that anymore. So this will be nice to just kind of look at the map at the end of each chapter that's on the slideshow. Additionally, it kind of highlights some things for you to watch out for and just serves as a little bit of a guide. And I appreciate that because these books are challenging. So that's one thing I'm going to do. The other thing that he mentioned in his video that I'm going to do as well is not take notes, specific notes, but to take a little bit of notes. What he recommended was to just simply list a character who's the point of view character, and at the end of their chapter or end of their section, just make a comment about where we left them. And it might help just the enjoyments, remembering a lot easier, being able to just sort of scan through and see where we left that character if it's dozens of pages away from the next time that we read them. So those two things plus the glossary will certainly aid me in reading this. So I'm filming this before I read tonight. I'm going to be reading tonight. It's a Wednesday evening. And I imagine this book will take me at least a week. It's going to take a while. So probably a daily update or however often I do decide to read this. So I'm going to go ahead and roll my intro. And then after that, I'll have read part of Deadhouse Gates. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Please give me feedback below what you thought. And I hope you enjoyed. So I read the prologue and the first 3 chapters of Deadhouse Gates tonight. The first thing that struck me is I forgot how dense this narrative is. I normally read 50 to 60 pages an hour, most books, regardless of font or book size. And with these, I'm averaging about 30, 35 pages an hour because I read for almost 3 hours and I barely got 100 pages in. It's really dense. Now, I was taking time to take some notes here and there, which certainly slowed me down a little bit there. But it is a very dense read, as I had kind of forgotten. It's been 2 months since I read Gardens of the Moon. But I will say I already feel a lot more positive towards this book than the first one. The first thing I liked is even though it was jumping around quite a bit to a lot of different characters and a lot of different settings, one of the groups of characters was led by Fiddler from the first book. And it provided a bit of grounding for me as a reader, just something to latch on to. 4 characters that I knew from the first book. It caused a little less confusion that I wasn't learning just 100 pages of brand new characters, that I did get Fiddler and his 3 in his band as part of what I was reading. So that helped quite a bit. There's still a lot of things that I'm really unclear kind of what's going on with a lot of things, but I understand. I feel a lot better jumping into this one than Gardens of the Moon. Gardens of the Moon, I was just so confused about even what side people were on, and I think I understand that a lot better here. There are a few characters that I'm having trouble keeping track of, even though I'm writing everything down. But overall, I think a pretty good start with this one. I'm curious to see where it goes, because there's this fermenting rebellion that's about to explode, it seems, and we see just different aspects of what's going to happen with that. There's a few characters that I'm enjoying so far. Coltane seems pretty interesting. I like the Malu and Ikariam. I like that duo pretty well. I'm really not sure what's going on with them, though. How they're going to fit in with this story. And I love all of Fiddler's group because I already know them from the first book. So that's first reading session. I think I'm off to a good start. I'm about 1/7 of the way into the book. So we'll see what happens in further installments. So it's Thursday afternoon. I just read the final 2 chapters in book 1, which were chapters 4 and 5. And I'm really liking this. This is so much clearer than Gardens of the Moon. I don't feel any confusion. There was one term that I wasn't sure that I had to look up. But overall, I'm really liking this. I guess my only concern is just going forward is just the method of storytelling. It's not my favorite, where it's constantly shifting point of view. I'm one of those readers that I love it when you're with one character or even one set of characters for a long time. I love that we had like 12 pages of Fiddler. I really enjoyed that part of it. So I guess that's my only thing I'm not loving about just this style of storytelling. I don't know if that'll change or if that's something I just have to get used to. But all of the elements that I didn't like in Gardens of the Moon are gone. So I'm definitely enjoying this one. If I had mentioned, since this is a book 2, I will occasionally talk spoilers. So here's one. I love the revelation that the Emperor ascended and is Shadow Throne, which is really interesting. And it changes my perspective. I remember early in Gardens of the Moon, there was a kind of, I forget the name right now, but there was a kind of a wizard that was perceived as a bad guy because he was on the other side of Tattersail. But then when you jump to his point of view, he wasn't a bad guy. And we've seen Shadow Throne as a bad guy, but we've also thought of the Emperor as kind of a good guy. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it, kind of the shades of gray amongst this conflict, that there are no good, no bad, just people. So I'm enjoying that, but I'll probably read a little bit more tonight, but about 150 pages in, I'm really enjoying Deadhouse Gates so far. All right, so just one more chapter today. The only thing of note I can say of this latest chapter is that I stopped taking notes because I feel I have a grasp of everything. I know the characters and understand where everybody is, where they're going, and feel at this point in the book that any new characters that are introduced, I don't feel the need to take notes. But it was valuable starting out because everything was brand new with the exception of just Fiddler and his 3 characters. Everybody was new from Gardens of the Moon. So I'm glad I did that. I'll probably do that at the beginning of each book after Deadhouse Gates as well, just to make sure that I'm clear on who everybody is, where they are, and everything until I get into the rhythm of it. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm really excited because, as I probably mentioned in my first one of these, I was nervous going in because I didn't love Gardens of the Moon, and these are 10 really big books, but I'm glad that I'm really enjoying things so far. So I read about 90 pages and I'm really enjoying this book. I like how it turns out Fiddler's on a quest.
Kalam was already kind of on a quest, and I always love quest fantasy. I guess I'm enjoying it so much because I really don't feel a whole lot of confusion like the first book, so I'm able to just sit back and enjoy it and not have all these questions. The only point of confusion is I'm not always clear like which side some of the groups are on, but I figure that that'll be fine when they go in skirmishes or they clash with other groups. I'll figure that out as it gets there. But besides that, I have no confusion. I'm enjoying like all of the characters, even the ones I don't like. They're really well written, and it's not a hard read at all. I know a lot of people say Erickson's hard, and I will say that Gardens of the Moon is a difficult read, but Deadhouse Gates is not. I mean, I just flew through like 90 pages in, I don't know, about 2.5 hours, something like that. But I don't know. I'm really liking it. I'm probably about a third of the way through, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens next tomorrow. So more soon. Well, it's Sunday afternoon. I didn't shoot an update yesterday, but I'm much further along than I was. I read probably 70 pages yesterday and probably about 90 pages this afternoon. I'm up to book 4 of Deadhouse Gates, which is about page, what's that, 430. So about 250 pages to go. Back to work tomorrow, so it'll slow down quite a bit. I probably won't give an update every single time I read. I just realize it might be redundant. At this point, I'm just really enjoying things. The only thing that I didn't love about probably this big stretch that I read is there's just a lot of military fantasy in there, and that's not my favorite thing. But because of the way that Erickson kind of jumps setting and group to group, it's not like big long periods of it, so it's been pretty good. Plus there is the added advantage of I love Duker as a character, and he's kind of been the eyes through this thing of Coltane's army marching, and so that's been very good. The other thing I'm really liking, and I put a comment somewhat like this on the Discord, was just talking about this early on. I think in one of these kind of check-ins, I talked about how I wasn't always clear like what side people are on. So I kind of have a perspective of like if a person is generally an antagonist or a protagonist, the protagonists are good, the antagonists are bad. So it's interesting as a lot of the different groups start to converge as the story comes along, I start to see things in a different light. For instance, again, just mild spoilers with characters, the convergence of Ystara into the scene with Duker, I had thought of her kind of as a bad guy because she's chasing Kalam, but then she saves Duker in that scene with Coltane's Marines. So I see her on a different light, and I don't know, I just enjoy how we're seeing both sides of people on both sides of the conflicts, and there's really no good or bad, at least as far as a side is concerned. And I find that really interesting because my perspectives of all the characters change quite a bit based on each scene. There was not enough of Fiddler. I like Fiddler's group the most, and there wasn't enough of that going on. But I have a feeling that as we get towards the end, all of these lines are going to converge quite a bit. And I loved where I stopped. I will read a little bit more tonight, but I love where I stopped because I wasn't sure at the very end, or maybe it was just me, but I wasn't sure if this is the very end and the Toblakai and Leoman were with the Shaik's body, and the new Shaik came in, and I wasn't sure the way it was written whether it was Apsalar or Felison. So I'm going to stop here and think about that for a few hours before I read a little bit more before I go to bed tonight. But I'm really enjoying Deadhouse Gates. I'm in such a better, more positive state with this series than I was with Gardens of the Moon. I tried to be as positive as I could with Gardens of the Moon, even though I was frustrated through a lot of it. There's no frustration here. There's still areas that I don't know, but it's in a good way. So I'm really enjoying Deadhouse Gates. So I'll see you at the next check.
I'm tired, so this will be a quick one. I'm about 100 pages from the end. Just had a scene that really confused me. So we're with the Chain of Dogs, that army, and out of a warren, these merchants come from Genebacus,
and it seems like they're on the side of the bridge burners and Dujek one arm, but they're helping Coltane. And I don't understand because those are opposite sides, I think. Anyway, I hadn't been checking in, but I'm slowly making progress. The last couple nights haven't had as much time to read. Same thing as tonight, but I'm still really enjoying this, despite this last chapter, this point confusing me. I'll probably post something on the Discord and see if someone can answer that one for me. But 100 pages to go. I might finish that tomorrow night. I'm filming this Tuesday night, so I might finish it Wednesday night. More likely, probably Thursday night. But I'm still in a very positive place. I have some things to talk about character, but I'll do that when I'm a little bit more awake. I'm a little tired now. So I'm almost there, but enjoying Deadhouse Gates. Continue to enjoy it. Well, I'm done. I just finished Deadhouse Gates, and I loved it. There was a little slog, a little bit towards the end of book 3 and the beginning of book 4 for about 150 pages. I felt that it was a bit slow, and I was starting to teeter on like 4-star territory. But the last 100 pages were just fantastic, powerful, heavy. A couple chapters I ended and just said, damn. If I had to sum up Gardens of the Moon in one word, it would have been confusing. But to sum up Deadhouse Gates, I would just say enjoyable. I really enjoyed this. So I guess to summarize all this, I took notes for the first book of the 4 books within the book, and that helped quite a bit. One thing I really liked is at the beginning of this book, just having Fiddler and those characters from the first book. It helped anchor me to the story a little bit. And I will say the one thing that's kind of surprised me with this whole book is Malazan's not known as a character story, and it really isn't. It's much bigger than that. And I guess I had the wrong idea about what that would mean. And I guess I thought that would mean that maybe the characterization wasn't strong. But what it means is just that we don't follow the same characters through these 10 books. Characterization was strong. Some of these characters, man, I love them. Coltane, Duker, I don't know if I said that right. I already liked Fiddler and Kalam. The one that I love, the Mappo-Akarium combination. I really, really love. If I had to pick one, I think that would be the one just interesting combination of characters that I liked. I liked the Fellis and Ark, Haboric. I could go on and on. So I really enjoyed the characters. I'm a character-first reader, and I do understand that this is going to be different. So I have my expectations, I think, in the right place, that some of these characters I'll probably never see again. Some of them I know I won't see again, but some of them hopefully will pop up along the way. But I really enjoyed, I thought, except for that one little slog, the pacing was fantastic. And I felt that I just understood things so much better in this story. I really, even looking back, I still think Gardens of the Moon is just overly confusing. Because it seems like every time that someone talks about Gardens of the Moon, they're like, oh, on a reread, it'll be great. But they never say that it's great the first time around. But maybe that's just me. But as far as Deadhouse Gates is going, I loved it. The ending, I just read the last 100 pages tonight, and it was riveting the entire time. And each chapter just kept raising the stakes. And I like how a lot of the storylines ended in places that I didn't think that they would end. And I like that part of it. I really liked the final confrontation with Kalam and the Empress. That was interesting. There were some really quotable lines in that scene that I really enjoyed. But I'm so positive about this book. And I was concerned after Gardens of the Moon that Malazan was going to be a book series for me. And I knew I would press on regardless, just because I don't like to quit things that I start.
but now I'm excited to continue, and I'm really happy for that. So this is, I don't know when I'll post this video, but I finished this, where it's like March 22nd or something like that. We're doing Memories of Ice in April and May. I'm going to read it in May. I have a few book obligations I have to read in April. Check out my TBR video about that. But I'm going to read it in May, and I'm probably going to start at the beginning of the month because I'm looking forward to going back to Jenna Bacchus. At least I think that's where it goes. I've heard that book 1 starts here, book 2 starts here, then 3 continues, 4 continues, then 5 starts a new story. I think that's right from what I've heard. So I am looking forward to Memories of Ice, going back. I think I have a better idea of how to read these books now. And I think simply taking the notes from the first quarter of the book really helped me just piece it all together. But hey, if you like this vlog, please let me know. It's been fun to do just a different kind of thing, rather than doing either just a short review of my wrap up or doing a dedicated review. It's kind of nice to document this along the way, and I appreciate all of you just joining me in this Malazan journey. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter and Goodreads. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time.